basically I'm sat here with Michelle today, and this is the first interview that we'll be doing as part of the film. I'm more or less just going to let you do your own thing.
My name's Michelle. I'm one of the parents affected by forced adoption. In that I became to lose one of my 4 children to forced adoption.
Yeah.
It started off when I was pregnant and I had baby blues. So I contacted social services for some support. I can honestly say I never got any support.
Yeah.
So then social services came out and they agreed to do a 12-week support package with me.
Yeah.
Where they help support the family. By the end of that 12 weeks, they agreed to extend it for another 2 weeks. In that time, my youngest child's arm got broken.
Yeah.
He was 8 months old, his dad had broke his arm. It was in the local papers, you know, what had happened. But then social services decided to pursue me.
Yeah.
So what happened, my daughter, I was asked by her now for social service. Sorry. What happened, my daughter went to her nan's.
Yeah.
Because her nan had asked for her to stay there for a night. I tried to get my daughter back because, you know, I have parental rights to that, and Nan had never really bothered with my children, like her grandchildren. I let her go there and she wasn't going to be handing her back.
Yeah.
It took me until years later to find out that what had actually happened, social services had been in touch with her nan and her second husband with a view to keeping my daughter there.
Yeah.
I mean, as a parent, you're supposed to be informed of anything, you're supposed to be updated, what they're going to be doing. But I wasn't informed of any of this. I actually found out because she'd informed my second eldest child about that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've got the screenshots of that, you know, to what she'd said.
Which would essentially break their own data protection rules that they're so insistent on. While we're still on this, in the first 12 weeks before Kieran's arm was obviously broken, were they supportive? Were they?
That was brilliant.
Yeah. So they actually did what they were supposed to do up until that point.
They did, and I mean the one social worker, she noticed that I liked my sewing.
Yeah.
And she wanted me to make some curtains. She gave me a number because she was going to work at a hospital, and she said, obviously I can't let you do it now. So she was totally professional, by the books. But she said when she went to work at the hospital, she would like me to make some curtains, and she would pay me for doing that. You know, that couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah, so and you obviously bonded with them as well, because, you know, if someone that you didn't like, you wouldn't ask them to do something like that for you, would you, no matter how talented they were?
No,
so,
that was lovely.
Yeah, okay. So what happened after that? So, you know, your daughter sort of, you've been informed that she wasn't going to be returned, although they were going to try and keep her at least.
Yeah, well, they didn't quite do it saying she won't be returned. What they was doing, because I said the nan is trying to keep my daughter from me. Social services were saying, no, she's not. Unbeknownst to me, I was heading for a breakdown, like quarter major breakdown. Because now I've already got my youngest child. I've been to the doctors because I was unwell.
Yeah.
And I was having some quite irrational unwanted thoughts, really. Well, I wanted help with that, so I'd asked for my baby to start with my ex-husband's aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
Until I could get sorted out. That help didn't come until quite near the end for me, even though that was the help I'd needed from the start.
Yeah.
I didn't get that help. And then what happened, my daughter would be quite spoilt by her now and a second husband. It was like they was trying to keep her there. I think they'd built up a bond with her.
Yeah.
My daughter would have been the same age as her nan's, who would have been a child, but she sadly suffered a miscarriage.
Right.
So I think that had an impact on it as well, but she did get quite sport rotten.
Yeah.
So then my second eldest child, who already had behaviour problems, his behaviour just escalated and got worse. He's saying that his sister's having all this stuff.
Yeah.
Really with my eldest son and my second eldest son, that they was both seeing this, and like, you know, that they wasn't getting that same love and attention from their nan, and it was their nan as well. Yeah, so then Martin ended up going into foster care because it got more difficult for me to cope, you know.
In terms of his behaviour and things like that.
Yeah, and which really didn't help the situation, and now I'm realising this is 3 children I'm fighting for now.
Yeah, instead of 1.
Yeah.
And so, how did things transpire from then? So did you have good contact with, what was your daughter's nan and granddad, or nan and new husband, or not? How were things? No.
What happened when my youngest son was staying?
Yeah.
They'd always been quite good. There was a point of things change with this, but for the time being, things were quite good. And then what happened? The grandparent where my daughter was stopping with, her second husband, he was writing things about me in the reports, and all the other 3, like the nan, and then the aunt and uncle, was all writing exactly the same as what he was writing about me. It's like they didn't have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
Social services did notice this happening. I mean, I know they were slammed down for making derogatory remarks about myself.
Yeah.
To my children, but then social services were doing the same.
Yeah. Do you think that they were sort of coerced or manipulated into writing those statements? Did they, especially if they were all very similar?
I think
Or
possibility.
at least sort of given the information that they could write about, you know, at least sort of steered in a direction.
I think to a certain degree, because like with the solicitors, a lot of it you're moulded to, you know.
Yeah.
Do what they want, really.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, I've had it myself where you try and suggest things to them outside, and the solicitor will tell them, "Well, you can't do that; it'll get you in far worse trouble." And it's ridiculous rubbish, you know. But it's how they work, and especially if they're family members, you know, you're going to listen to them eventually, even if what they're telling you is wrong. They're going to wear you down. That's what happens.
Something that I would like to say with Kieran's dad, who's no longer with us. He died, well, pretty recently. After the injury, it was in the paper that it had not been deliberate.
Yeah.
Judge Martin Coates had found that it was not deliberate. You know, been to magistrates court, but I'd handed that cutting into my solicitor. I wasn't realising, you know, I wasn't taking much in. I was heading for this breakdown.
Yeah.
But I handed it in to like, help with my case, because social services was convincing me that it was deliberate. When they did eventually take me to court, they were saying that it was non-accidental injury.
Yeah.
The dad had admitted to doing it, but by accident. Kieran's natural dad, he wasn't like us. He had a mental health illness.
Yeah.
With schizophrenia, he didn't see things like the same as us.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say that to make excuses. I mean, I haven't got to make excuses.
No, not at all.
It's in the paper that it was not deliberate.
Yeah.
But yet I still got pursued and taken to court with them saying it was a non-accidental injury, which is a lie, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and essentially they've got access to far better records than what you have, and the paper wouldn't have printed something that wasn't true. And at the end of the day, if they had proof that it was not an accident, then they would have charged him.
Yeah, he didn't go to prison. He got probation,
Yeah.
but he did not go to prison. And the other important thing to mention is that I had got told that because of this injury, he had lost his parental rights.
Yeah, which obviously you believed because the people that you think are in power are telling you this information. Yeah, I can understand that.
And everybody, all the professionals I was telling, none of them was telling me that it's not true, that they was all letting me believe he'd lost his parental rights.
Yeah.
And of course I know different now that you don't lose your parental rights until there's a final adoption order. And it's like with myself, when I did eventually lose Kieran to forced adoption, I was led to believe the same, that I'd lost my parental rights. And of course you don't lose those until there's an adoption order.
That's right. But obviously, like we said, you know, the people that you're trusting, the solicitors, you know, the social services, all these people, they might not necessarily be lying to you point blank, and maybe one or two maybe, but the rest, they just won't tell you the truth. They'll just allow you to think what you were already thinking, and that's wrong. You know, whether or not they could turn around and say, look, I didn't lie to you, I just didn't sort of correct you. Oh, you're not doing your job properly. You've gone there for advice. You've gone there for support. You've gone there for help, and that was something that, yeah, exactly. You did, you know, and you were sort of sold this belief that they were looking out for you and Kieran's best interests. That's what, you know, you were, and they weren't.
Well, it is more about looking out for Joel's best interests, but to do that, I mean, it's like you say, isn't the way to do that by looking out for the parents'
Of course it is.
interests as
You know,
well.
And you think as well, even if, for example, they did have, you know, they say that Kieran's father made the admission, yeah, all right, he was annoying me and I broke his arm. That's not a bad reflection on you in any sense. So even if they could prove that, and you know he was charged saying he did get sent to prison, how would that be a bad reflection of you? Unless you were there clapping and jeering him on.
Because I'm the parent, I should have been there for
But at the same time he is. So why is it any, you know, I mean, it's only like, for example, in my situation at home, my partner could be at work, and if I broke my son's arm when she's at work or she wasn't there, that's not her responsibility to make sure that she never leaves the house because I might do something.
Well, they even got me in the end saying, okay, I accept it's my responsibility, because in the end you're just saying what
of course
you want
you will,
them
yes,
to hear,
of course you are,
because
you
you're
think
going
it's
to
going
do
help.
anything to get
Yeah,
your
exactly.
job.
It's one of the things that, you know, I hear time and time again. Well, they'll say, look, we can't help you until you admit responsibility for being a bad parent or for being neglectful or whatever. And they go, fine, you know, I'll admit responsibility, anything to get my kids back. Wow, you've admitted responsibility for being neglectful now, so you can never return their children.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I backed into a corner, but it's all by design. It's the way that it's structured. So, as all this was going on, whether you want to go into your breakdown or not is up to you, or whether you want to sort of miss that part out and go from what happened afterwards, that's completely fine.
Well, I wasn't informed I was going through a breakdown.
Yeah.
As I recall, I didn't have a mental health social worker at the time or nothing, which was in my favour really.
Yeah.
Social services had wanted everything over in 18 months. The grandparents was being asked by, this wasn't a long-term social worker.
Yeah.
This was like one of the more short-term ones. They was being asked to go for residency of my son, of my youngest child. Now, I didn't really know what that meant. The idea was that I had temporary help. I'd always wanted my son back.
Yeah.
I'd always wanted him back. But obviously, in time, I got to find out what it meant. By the time then that they were supporting the grandparents having residency of my daughter as well, I believe that changed.
Yeah.
Because 1 minute my daughter was running off there, the next minute she was running off to me. Now, I was never stopped telephone contact with any of my children that was not in my care, including my youngest child. I would insist on seeing where they all lived, because obviously, you know, I still care about my children, I still love my children.
But that's another part of the things that don't get mentioned that should be used in your favour. If you didn't care about him, if you were the sort of mother that was, you know, look, I want to go out on nights out, I don't want kids, you know, this was a mistake or whatever, you wouldn't fight. As soon as it had happened, you'd be like, thank God, you know, this is a blessing. If that's the way you were inclined, which some people I'm sure are, and everyone that starts to fight, especially when they fight when they're told they've got absolutely no hope, that should straight away be in your favour. Because you've been told that, look, forget it, you're not going to beat social services. You can look at all these other cases where people have lost and you're still trying. That should be something that straight away that any magistrate in the country should look at and say, she's not a bad parent. How can she be a bad parent? You know, the first thing she's doing is she's essentially putting herself, her family, everyone on the line, facing the ridicule from people that don't even know her, you know, to fight for her children. That should be something that should always, and it's never mentioned. I never ever see it in the case of what. Never see a magistrate make the comment, well, she's here, she's turned up, she's fighting, she's spent X amount of money on, you know, legal fees, she's doing this, she's doing that. Never mention it.
I was like a Mary Poppins man in the end.
Yeah.
For a long time I wouldn't even meet a partner, because when I did meet a partner, I was the one that insisted that he was police checked. I've already had a son with his arm broke, so I'm doing everything I can to obviously look out for all of my other children, you know. So I wasn't told. I believe the result come back earlier than it did. I was mad to wait for that result.
Yeah.
He'd stopped for the night. Then I spoke to social work because my daughter had ran off for the first time, and then she put it down to the man being in the house.
Yeah.
So I put in a complaint at some point, a really big, like, kick-ass complaint.
Yeah.
But they all stick together, like, you know, anything they do, so it's like a load of rubbish, the way they see it.
Definitely.
Yeah, so...
But I suppose that was an easy thing to use against you, wasn't it? I mean, not just in the sense that they could quite easily say because of what had happened to Kira, well, she's got a fear of any men coming to... But it's your support network. I mean, you finally meet someone, you finally trust them enough to sort of let them come into your life, and then already it's like,
it did take a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
I was frightened whoever went by
of course.
My youngest. I was even frightened when he was at the aunts and uncles, and I know, you know, they're not going to go and say anything to my son, but it was even if it was a policeman by my son, a social worker,
it does. It would create this fear inside your mind, wouldn't it? This paranoia. There's no. I mean, say it all the time. They take children on the possibility of future abuse, but the first time they take them from a child, of course, there's actual abuse there and then, and they're never held accountable for it. Especially if they take the kids kicking and screaming from their mum. I mean, video that, and that's abuse.
I'm fortunate that I never had any of that, but what I will say is that the first time I had a social services meeting that I was an unfit parent, I was just like flabbergasted. Nobody had ever said that to me. I'd been in a marriage for 11 years, which was a bad marriage. I'd married young at the age of 16. The things that my children myself was put through was quite horrendous. It was the worst marriage known to my solicitor out of anybody that, out of any case you've ever helped on. So much so, the one of the secretaries that worked there after, that used to type everything up, she was in tears at reading my story. I was put through hell, my children was put through hell. I suffered abuse as a child, and then I get into this marriage where I had things happen on different levels, like emotional, sexual and physical. There was a time my sister told me I could have had him for like mental torture, like through the courts. So my dad had always been the sort of man, like, he was so caring, he wrapped us up in cotton wool. And he didn't agree with divorce, even though, you know, these different things was going on, he didn't agree with divorce. So I get divorced, and then social services used against me that I didn't get out the marriage quick enough. So that got used against me, even though I got divorced. And then I've moved on and met my youngest child's dad.
But I can imagine, obviously you won't never know, but I'm sure if you'd have left the marriage sooner, they'd have said you didn't ride it out long enough, you didn't try hard enough, you didn't make it work. It's one of them situations where you can't win, I'm sure. I mean, I've had it with people where they've met a partner and this partner's done a police check or something to sort of support them, and then they've split up 6 months down the line because of the way social services have treated them, and so they say, see, you know, you didn't ride it out, you didn't really want the support, you didn't really want the family, you didn't really want this, you know, you just wanted some attention, and they use it against them, and it's terrible.
Well, I stopped on my own for that. For about a good 5 years, I admitted to the judge that the man I saw that passed the police check, I saw occasionally. I didn't have to do that. It even said, the judge even said, that was by my own admission. Well, the judge was quite okay about that, really. I've just been honest. You could say that I was an honest lady. A social services could have said they never had to do any homework on me because I was honest.
It's the best way to be. Well, I mean, especially in this situation, you've got, like we've talked about before, there's no benefit from hiding anything. They'll find it out. I mean, they'll make stuff up. You know, you can tell them every word of everything you've ever said to anyone, and they'll lie about what you've done anyway. So
that's right.
There's no point in trying to hide things. There's no point in trying to bend the truth, because they'll find it. And even if they don't, they'll make it up. So you're not sort of getting anywhere by lying. And I try and say the same thing to anyone that contacts me. I can't help you if you lie to me. It's no good, and it just makes me look stupid then. And then I can't help other people because someone else will go, I don't want to talk to him because he's an idiot.
Well, it'd make me look more stupid because you're trusting me.
Well, yeah, exactly as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, in these situations, especially when people message me and say, can you look at my case notes, this is what's happened, and then I read for their case notes, and I'm like, you haven't told me about this is serious, this is the reason your children were taken. You can't lie to me about the reasons that they were taken, because I can't help you. But lots of people still do it, you know. I think people are embarrassed, but I can understand it, but there's no benefit. You know, especially when you've been to court and you've had your name dragged through the mud, you think, well, you're still hiding. You're reaching out for support, just be honest. But I think that's all you can do. You know, like you've experienced firsthand, you might be honest, they'll still make stuff up about you. They'll find anything they can to see.
Well, what I did, because I was told that I had to get this man out my life.
Yeah.
But there I am, I'm having, like, the first long-term social worker comes along. And like, well, they're not your friends, but you just expect to be like treated with respect, you know, no matter what you do. But what happens, I did see my youngest child's dad for a quite short period of time, really.
Yeah.
And then I made a decision not to see him anymore. I saw this was really having an impact. But the thing is, what it was like all of a sudden social worker changed with me after being nice initially. I don't say that in a way that they should agree with everything you do and what you say. I don't mean it like that at all, but she started lying about me.
Yeah.
A manageress knew that she was lying about me. My family had been to her telling that she was lying about me, asking if she could be took off the case, and I'd asked for her to be taken off the case myself, and I wasn't getting heard. And I know there's a violence and aggression PDF through a Freedom of Information request I made, and it tells you in there, like, if the social worker or one of us parents are in any sort of danger. You know, when there's that much conflict, things are obviously going to come to a blow in the end.
Yeah.
You know, you're in a goldfish bowl, and on top of this, you're getting lied to. You're not looking at losing your house, which would mean, you know, a hell of a lot to a lot of people. You know, they've got a mansion, it means a hell of a lot. But this is your children, this is worth more than a mansion, it's worth more than
on that base, one of the first people that reached out to me when I made my website was a couple from Oxford, quite a wealthy couple once upon a time. The guy was a plumber and a builder. They made over £1 million as a fortune. They had a really expensive house and they blew their fortune in 2 years. 2 years fighting for their kids, and they lost every penny and they still haven't got them back. It just shows that it doesn't matter how much money you've got, it doesn't matter the background, anyone's a target, and anyone this can happen to. This is why I'm making the film. You know, there's people sitting there going, well, you know, they lived on this road, or they lived in this place, or they associated themselves with this type of people, or the husband was a drug addict, all these things without knowing anyone. And it's like, no, it can happen to anybody.
It can, yeah.
Which is why I'm getting involved.
Well, I didn't think it had happened to me.
Well, nobody does, do they? I mean, nobody thinks it can happen to them until it does, and then it's too late.
I mean, it happened to me through the actions of someone else. It wasn't,
which is like, go back to, you'd think, even if they could prove that he did it intentionally, the absolute worst they should be doing is stopping his dad from seeing him again. It shouldn't have any bearings on you. It shouldn't affect you, you know, and maybe in the sense that they could have possibly put some pressure on you to end the relationship if you wanted to save it. But other than that, how could you possibly be punished for the actions of someone else? I mean, for example, let's just say he was going to nursery and it happened at nursery, would that be your fault? If it happened at school, would that be your fault? You know, if it happened uptown, someone ran his leg over with a pushchair, would that be your fault? I mean, how far did they want to take it?
Well, I was brainwashed into believing it was my fault.
Of course. And obviously the fact that they told you that the parental responsibility was gone from him as well made it seem so kosher that what they were doing was right. I mean, if you could have known straight away that he hadn't lost his parental responsibility, that might have changed your thinking from day one. Because you'd have been thinking, well, why hasn't he lost it? You know, if this is as serious as you're making out, why is it, what? But also, you'd be thinking, well, why have you told me that he has? But it's only so, like you said, it's so long afterwards.
That's because of the injury, and I know that the only way you lose your parental rights is when an adoption order's made.
Yeah.
But then, I've got social services saying I'm an unfit parent. I ended up with 3 of them back in my care.
Yeah.
But then the judge at court, at what was meant to have been the final hearing, he said he's had all the evidence and he could not see where I'm an unfit parent.
Yeah.
The one sort of stood up and said, well, there's still the Bernardo's report to go through. More sort of stood up and said, oh, I've been through that and you'll find there's nothing in there on mother also.
Yeah.
In fact, at that final hearing, it didn't end there because the judge had discovered the guardian, Mark Townsend, who was since retired. He discovered that he'd frauded my case.
Yeah.
And he'd never ever done this on another family before. I know this because the judge said it. He said, I'm very surprised at you, Mark, in all the years that I've known you.
Yeah.
You've never done this on any other family. So like, there was really got in for me.
Yeah.
And then
did he ever get an admission from him as to why?
It wasn't even put in the judgment.
No.
Judge McFarlane, well, it was recorded McFarlane at the time. It also said that the social worker had fraud, and it's because my eldest son, who did so well in my care,
Yeah.
that was credited to him having his dad around in his earlier days,
Yeah.
which I couldn't believe. You know, he's in my care now. I'd won custody of my 3 children because I didn't have the 4 then.
Yeah.
I caught before when I got divorced. Yeah, work hadn't been carried out in the family, and sorry, I'm my son.
Yeah.
Work hadn't been carried out. And I knew that they was meant to do that, so under the Adoption Act, I think it was 1976, it would have made it difficult for the judge to be able to have got my youngest child adopted anyway. But I knew this was work that should have been carried out.
Yeah.
Anything that they wrote about me was negative. There was hardly anything positive. If my youngest child said to me, contact Mum, I love you, that never got wrote down. It was just all the negative.
Yeah.
The one social worker at the one contact meeting, she was sat there and my son was like, he was messing about with his plate, his knife and fork.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what to do, you know, what's up with my son. I'm looking at her face and she's like, with this look on her face, I thought, right, I'm going to write something down now about you. So I can't focus my attention fully on what my son wants, because everything you do is being wrote down. It's just not a relaxing atmosphere at all.
But I think that's a key part that you just mentioned. I mean, people make these assessments on parents based on what, an hour viewing in a place that they don't know, the child don't know. You know, it's even if they do it at your home, it's 2 strangers or 1 stranger sat there observing you. It's the same with anything. I mean, I'm quite talented at photoshopping, but if my partner stands and looks over my shoulder, I can't do what I'm doing. Can't do it. Can't concentrate. And this is someone that I love and care about is watching me do something that I love and care about. You know, 2 strangers watching you do something when you know they're writing and judging you, and essentially what they're going to say could affect the outcome of your child. That's pressure. How could you act completely naturally in that situation? Really,
you can't, and you've got to emphasise. You soon learn that you've got to emphasise everything, what you're doing, what you're saying, your actions, everything. I mean,
and I think that would also influence you to be more likely to make a mistake, because you'd be so not focused on just being natural, would you? You wouldn't be focused on being yourself and enjoying the time. You'd be worrying about, have they noticed that? What are they thinking? What are they writing? That shouldn't be the way, you know, especially when you've only got a certain amount of time to spend with them and they're witnessing it. I think they're more or less setting you up to fail. I mean, I would love to say, okay, to a social worker, you sit down and write your report. I'm going to get 20 people to watch you, and every time you write a word that you haven't got evidence to present, we're all going to go, what are you doing? Where have you got that from? You'd absolutely detest it. And that's exactly what they're doing to you.
That is what's happening. I did get the one sessional worker took off the case, Vanessa back.
Yeah.
She won't be too harsh, really. I mean, my daughter came up to me and showed me a nice drawing that my youngest child had drawn of me, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, look, look, Vanessa. And she said, Lord, that a younger brother had drawn a nice picture for his mum. And she went, oh, that's nice. But she was saying it sarcastically. My daughter, being a daughter, because kids will come out with it, said, oh, Vanessa, you sound like a witch. But then, after the one contact session, she drove off with my youngest child, shouting hurrah out the window, as if, thank goodness, the contact's over.
Yeah.
Then another time, and this was the last time we had Vanessa on the contact, she put my youngest child's life in danger. because what happened, we was about to leave the contact, and then she walked off my youngest child.
Yeah.
Somebody came into the building. She was too distracted speaking to them. So I went back into the room and I said to my other children, quick, can you help me? Like, your brother's disappeared somewhere.
Yeah.
Vanessa can't hear me, she's too busy talking.
Yeah.
So I went outside the front of the building, and he stood against the wall where there was a man right with his arms behind his back. He could have got run over.
And how old was this kid?
I'm guessing he was about 2 or 3 at the time.
So imagine that circumstance the other way round, and you'd let him walk away from you and walk near a road. Can you imagine how bad that would have made you look?
I think they'd have been using neglect.
Yeah, certainly. So you'd think straight away any other social worker or anyone else in that system would have looked at that woman and said, well, you can't be trusted to look after a child, especially of this age. I mean, even a 13, 14-year-old, a child that's not yours, you shouldn't be taking your eyes off it for a second. But a child of that age is insanity, and that would be enough for them to take a child from someone. You know, one instance of that. That would be enough, because
well,
it's
I
happened.
haven't done that much, had I?
No, you hadn't. No. But yeah.
I know
that,
you know that.
Yeah, but the other way round, that would be enough. You know, on that session, if you'd, even if it was say a doctor's surgery, and you'd got chatting to someone on the phone or whatever. I mean, I can remember a big long report a couple of years ago that absolutely slammed David Cameron and his wife, saying, look, if you were a standard couple and you'd left your baby in the car seat in the pub, you'd have had that baby taken away from you. And it's true. A very similar case now, Adam Johnson, convicted rapist. Well, I'm sorry, but in any other situation, even if you're not a convicted rapist, even if your ex-partner had been once arrested for being accused, that's going to go against you. So I'm assuming someone's going to go and take that child one day this week. But it'll never happen, will it? Because he's got a few quid.
Yeah.
And I think he would be the first one that would definitely win his case back, and that would start the ball rolling. This is why none of these people are ever affected. You know, some minor celebrity that's all washed up possibly, but not someone like in the limelight like that. But there's plenty of cases where they've used not even the child's father, you know, an ex of an ex of an ex from someone from years ago, but they've got a rape conviction, so it's used against them all. How is he getting away with it?
Money talks.
Money does. That's basically it. But at the same time, like I mentioned, the couple from Oxford, money doesn't get you everywhere. There's obviously something else that they've got. There must be, or some sort of connection that they've got.
It's it is just like a lucrative business, really.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, yeah, because I mean, this Oxford couple that I spoke to, they went through dozens of solicitors and they all bled them dry. Nobody helped them. Nobody did anything to help them. You know, they more or less told them to comply and just kept taking their money. And you think, this isn't just one person that's scum. There's at least 10 or 11 different solicitors they went through. Not all of them people now should be at least in court for fraud. You took these people's money, you did no work for them, you did absolutely nothing to benefit them, and their child's still gone. And
the written evidence don't always account for anything. I had the council found in breach recently.
Yeah.
Well, it was more a letter sent to the wrong address, but these breaches was just sort of happening repeatedly.
Yeah.
And the advisor had told me, like, the 2 breaches that it was, one for failing with the upkeeping of the records and the other from the security side. A letter had ended up getting sent to the council to tell them that they'd failed with the record keeping and the security side. I was asking the RCO to please be more transparent, because you're not really defining it how it has happened as in the act.
Yeah.
And then they came back just saying that they'd failed with the record keeping, but really it had already been put in writing that the security side had been failed at. So it just seems to get
again, you know, and it is exactly that again. Whereas if you were the sort of person that was leaking information, let's say you were currently in court right now and you had a gag order and you were telling me all this, would they just say, well, don't worry about the security part of it, it was just a simple mistake? Or would you be in court tomorrow on contempt? I mean,
more than likely be in court.
Of course, it is when it suits, and the problem is that they have got the strength in numbers, but only because people don't unite. They haven't got the strength in numbers because there's more social workers than victims. That's ridiculous. No. It's just because they don't work together. If the victims could sort of have the same core ethics that social services and the legal services do, where, look, no matter what, we'll all go down if we go down, so we'll all fight together, things would change. Because there's far more of them than there are social workers. and you put pressure on them. I mean, imagine, for example, there's a couple of people now, we've talked about them before, that have got a little bit of a reputation or a name in this field. Imagine if 10, 15 of them all turned up at the next court or stood outside. They'd know who they were, they'd know what it was, and it would seem already that fear was sort of working the other way. They'd already be thinking, these people are all getting together, these people are all starting to conspire. They'd be worried. And that's real simple.
I think this has happened in Slovakia, where more people got together.
Yeah.
Or don't
a little bit in Norway too, from what I've read. A little bit. But mainly in England, it's the English philosophy of, I don't care about anyone except myself. Even some of these people I've said, speak to this person, I've had a really similar case as you, they might be able to help you. I don't want to care about anyone else's case, I'm only interested in getting my kids back. Whereas I can understand that, but the best way of getting your kids back is to all fight together. It really is. You fighting on your own, unless you've got something absolutely exceptional that they're going to definitely take and look at in court, you're not going to win. Whereas if 20 parents are all fighting for the same reasons and they're all going to court for exactly the same things, you've actually got a case together. You can all talk, you can all use the same solicitor, you can really put pressure on a service like that. But going and fighting on your own, especially as a single mother or a single father, it's insanity.
But they make it that way because even if you hadn't had, what had happened with my youngest, they seem hell-bent on getting you on your own.
Yeah.
So you're a more easy target.
Oh yeah, certainly. They'll cut your support network, won't they? They'll alienate family members against you. They'll alienate your partner.
Against you with mental health as well. They'll do discriminate against you.
And they'll lie to, like very similar to what you mentioned earlier with your daughter, they'll lie to family members and say to them, look, if you sort of admit this about your daughter, or if you admit this about your son, we'll really, push your case for adoption, or we'll push your case for fostering your grandchildren. No, they don't. And they'll make some statement about them where they'll more or less say, look, my daughter's, she's not a bad mum, but, she's a bit lazy, or she does do this sometimes. And then that'll get straight away added into the report. The grandmother will never ever get considered for fostering or adoption. And they'll probably never speak to each other again, that mother and daughter, because that trust, that bond has been broken.
And that's happened with a few, in the family or the extended family with me now. It's just, they've totally broke any bond that we had now.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, in that sort of situation, it's not something you can easily forgive, even if they are influenced into why they're doing it. Because they've essentially worked and conspired against you, haven't they, to have your children stolen from you. No matter whether they were lied to in the first place to agree to it, they still had the choice to say no and they didn't. And this is why I think, even when people say there are some great social workers out there might be, but they're still working for social services. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all the same. You can leave. I mean, there might be some really nice rapists out there, but they're still rapists. That's what you are. And if you're a nice social worker and you know that every other social worker isn't nice, what are you doing being a social worker? Why aren't you doing something completely different? There are many jobs where you can help people. This isn't a job.
That is true, but at the same time, I think it's difficult for the non-social workers because, there's been Carol Woods, the whistleblower.
Yeah. But okay, that's my point.
Just lost her home and...
But this is, again, she should be your inspiration as any of these good social workers. I mean, I get told by quite a few people, so obviously a lot spread across the whole country. Why aren't they all coming out when she started losing her house and they're saying, hang on a minute, everything she's saying is right, I'm going to support you, I'm not being part of this anymore. They need 50 or 60 of them to come out and support her. But most of them are more worried about their pensions, which is pathetic. You're not talking about millions, you're not talking about billions, you're talking about, 20 grand a year. It's not life changing, and you are destroying people's lives. I mean, definitely. I would love to go to a social services conference or something when they do one of their talking and blag my way in pretending that I'm a guest speaker, and the first question I'll just ask is, how do you all sleep at night? Because I'd love to know.
I'm still wondering how they sleep at night.
I mean, okay, I've looked into it quite a bit, and a lot of them don't choose to have children themselves, but some do. How are you kissing your kids good night and carrying on a normal life, going home and having a conversation over dinner with your wife or whatever, knowing what you did today and every day for the rest of your... I don't know how people do it.
Oh, no.
I mean, and even if you were, say, that they're trained and they're influenced by their higher up to do it and to have no empathy and to not relate to people, but as soon as you see the repercussions, when you see a mother break down in court, or you see the reports afterwards that this child's been abused in foster care, you must be thinking, hang on, I've done the wrong thing here, I've got to do everything in my power to change it. No. No one ever seems to have like
They just see it like a cup of tea when these things happen. You have to really push them and pressurise them to getting compliance looked into.
Well, the best way I see it is they don't look at you as if you are a parent or you are a victim. They look at you as if you are a customer. You know, you are a few extra quid on their bank balance. You are a little bit of extra money. You're a bonus. You're an incentive. That's all you are. You know, essentially, you're work. You're not a human being that they can relate to, and you know your children aren't human beings that they can care about. Not at all. They're just money, digits.
They don't care about the children.
No, of course they don't. I mean, it's so ridiculous, isn't it? Like I've got a lady I'm speaking to at the minute. I won't name her, but she had her children taken on the basis that she moved house too many times in a short period, and since then her kids have had 12 different foster carers and have been moved all up and down the country.
Well, social services promoted my daughter Kate moving because I was happy whether she was in my care or a grandparent's
But then on their own things, they'll use that as something against you because she's got no stability, she's got no structure, she's got no routine. This is what they were saying. This person was all moving within 2 towns. She only changed school once. You know, it wasn't like she was moving to Scotland, then Devon, then back to Scotland. Not at all.
This is why they did it. Yeah. This is obviously why they did it and allowed it.
Well, you think for any kid, especially if you've already sort of been taken off your parents or your custody has been restricted, say, and you're in sort of temporary foster care, and then 1 month you move to a completely different town up north where you don't know anyone, all the accents are funny, all the kids don't know yet, and as soon as you start to make friends and bond, they move you again. You know, what sort of life are you going to have growing up? You're never going to have any attachment to anything apart from the social workers that move you and drive you about. And you're going to think that them are the only people in the world that care about you, especially if them are the ones that are telling you that your mum and dad don't care about you.
Well, but that's the sort of thing that they do, isn't it? They'll be talking to the children all night, but then they'll be speaking to the parents sort of rubbish, but then behind their backs, for example, the social worker spoke to my second eldest child at school and she come out asking me what I was doing, just giving my children beans on toast all the time. And I thought, I'm not giving my children beans on toast all the time. If anything, my eldest was into weightlifting.
Yeah.
And he wanted a steak dinner. He wanted a steak dinner every single night.
Yeah.
So I said the only way I can do that is to get like the value straight, and then I can do it. So I demanded that she came home to my house because I'd had so much enough of the lies, and I got her to come to my house to ask my eldest son what he was fed, and she said, no, it's okay, Michelle, I believe you. So we obviously don't, because you've come out saying this to me.
But even if, say, that was completely true...
My son hadn't even said it to me.
But even if that was completely true, what would be the problem with that? You know, I can understand if they don't like it and it's making them sick and you're sticking there, you know, ramming spoon after spoon of beans that he doesn't like in his mouth, and every time he's swallowing he's being sick. Yeah, I understand that.
Well, it is nutritious, but I mean, from my side, I'd say the only problem with it is, well, I was good at home economics at school, and I learned a lot about nutrition, and that's why it was something I was really into, and it's something that my eldest son is particularly really into now.
Yeah.
And to me, it was important for me to feed my children all this.
But I still don't think it gives anyone the justification at any time, even if he did eat beans on toast 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because there's plenty of kids that are like that with things. I mean, my ex-partner's daughter ate chicken nuggets and chips with ketchup for probably 6 months every single night because she refused to try anything else.
But the social worker wanted me making more children's sandwiches.
Whereas you think, well, there's plenty of kids out there just in this country, not even talking about Africa or anywhere, just in this country that don't get a meal a day. So if you're having beans on toast every day, you're privileged. That's not something to be used against you. You know, he's only having beans on toast. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, some kids don't even get dirt.
Puddings as well, and not to be nasty, but that first social worker was a larger lady herself, and you just think if you're going to be going out promoting, you know, what you do and looking out for children, why not set a good example then?
Exactly. But they don't care about stuff like that. It doesn't matter, does it? And I mean, if you'd have put it really astutely and sort of sensibly and said, look, I'm not being disrespectful to you in any way, but do you think it's a good idea you lecturing me on food and nutrition the way you are?
I couldn't have said that. That would have got used against
that would have been like, well, you've slandered against me, you're abusive, and then she'd go, well, I've got this emotional distress, you know, I've got a weight problem, and you brought it up, and that, and she'd probably sue you for abuse. It's the best way to describe it is insanity, because there isn't logic to it, to anything. I mean, the one case you'll look at where something works, the next case they'll completely contradict themselves. Something that they've used in their favour to take someone's kids, in the next case they'll use it against the parent for not doing. And this is why you just think every court system in the country that deals with family court is in on it. Have to be. Because the first magistrate that cared would look at that and say, hang on, how has this made it to court? Every single person that's put this document together, I want you in here because there's been some serious injustice done. But no, that doesn't get happened.
Well, it went in the threshold because I'd requested my son back. My solicitor took me to Chambers.
Yeah.
For counsel advice. So we saw this barrister and she told me it's my parental rights to get my son back.
Yeah.
So that was all done formally in writing.